The observation deck of the Astreus, flagship of the United Earth Coalition, shimmered under a vault of reinforced photocrystal that framed the inky expanse of space. The air carried a subtle hum, the low-frequency vibration of sublight and warp drives coalescing into a steady heartbeat. Commander Alara Voss stood alone before the viewport, her uniform's metals glinting in the ambient glow. Beyond the glass, a cascade of stars streamed past as the Astreus held position just outside the Nexarian, Waystation's outer approach lanes. For years, humanity had labored beneath the weight of expectation to prove themselves worthy of joining the Galactic Assembly, from tentative first probes into subspace to diplomatic overtures via quantum-correlated message beacons. Every advance came with equal parts triumph and trepidation. Now, the day had arrived for their inaugural representative mission to parley with the galaxy's elder. Races and the charges of pride, fear, and hope converged here on this metal days. A soft chime announced Lieutenant Chen Idris's arrival. He carried a compact holo interface, its data streams flickering in translucent blue. "Ma'am," he said, voice measured, final approach vectors calculated. "We're on automatic glide for docking. 10 minutes to Waystation arrival." Alara turned, folding her hands behind her back. "And the assembly fleet, are they responding?" "On schedule." Chen tapped the device. "They've cleared a corridor. 4 of the Xenian crystal cruisers, 2 Orion Sentinel frigates, and the QORth energy monitors are positioned at the far ring. All systems green." Attention tightened in her chest. "Good. Initiate comm protocols on standby. But hold transmission until we're within visual range." He inclined his head and stepped back to the console, fingers dancing across the holo controls. The viewport shifted perspective tiles of starfields coalesced to reveal first the gleaming arcs of the Waystation's outer hull, then the assembly of alien vessels. The Xenians' crystal cruisers, their hulls refracting light into kaleidoscopic patterns, drifted with graceful precision. Their wing-like stabilizers shimmered in hues of violet and aqua, bordering them. The Orion Sentinel frigates loomed, dark, monolithic constructs of silicate, alloys angular and imperious. Farther still, bands of QORth monitors appeared as floating spheres of shifting luminescence, each orb drifting on currents of invisible energy. Alara exhaled slowly. "They're beautiful," she murmured, half to herself, half as a tribute. Humanity's first hosts, rendered in their own alien aesthetics. Chen's voice cut in. "Commander, we're at docking range. Requesting clearance." "Alara, report that we proceed under battle code Alpha," said a new voice from behind. Admiral Cale Ramirez entered, flanked by 2 honor guards whose silver-trimmed uniforms marked them as his personal staff. His face was stern, his salt and pepper hair cropped close. "The assembly will balk," Alara replied. "We're not here as a war fleet." Ramirez's jaw tightened. "They will see our battle code and assume hostility, but it's the protocol. It tells them that we come as equals armed. Yes, but not inferior." Alara considered his words. The ancient rites of spacefaring civilizations often equated martial readiness with sovereign dignity. To show an empty hull might be seen as supplication. "Very well." Chen transmitted the request. A moment later, the viewport's distant xenon lights pulsed, the Waystation's approach arrays granting access. As the Astreus's docking clamps latched, a subtle shudder ran through the deck. The comm console hissed to life. "Welcome, Astreus," intoned the Xenian delegate's voice, smooth and measured. "You enter as friends, understanding you bear arms." Alara pressed her palm to the console speaker. "This is Commander Alara Voss of the United Earth Coalition. We honor your customs and seek only peace." Static quavered through the line. Then, the delegate added in heavily accented basic, "We await your envoy." She nodded. "Very well. Lieutenant Idris, prepare the cultural envoy frigates for immediate deployment. Dr. Quinn's holographic suite aboard will broadcast the Earth archives." "Aye, Commander." As the docking hatches cycled open, Alara felt the weight of 10,000 human voices upon her shoulders. Behind her, Admiral Ramirez's gaze held an unreadable gravity. Neither spoke as they watched the airlock doors peel back like the petals of a metallic flower. On the docking corridor, a delegation team assembled. Dr. Mara Quinn, the Coalition's chief xenolinguist, her dark curls escaping the confines of her regulation cap. Captain Roland Hayes of the 5th Marine Contingent, arms folded over his chest, and Ambassador Li Mei-chen, whose diplomatic poise masked the fervor of her convictions. They stepped through into the way station's grand atrium, and every footstep echoed against crystalline columns that soared toward a vaulted ceiling of starlight. Simulators. Dozens of alien envoys clustered in semicircles, Xenians with their iridescent carapaces, Orions whose crests glinted in the soft illumination, QORth orbs that pulsed with silent energy. All eyes turned. Alara's breath caught. The silence was absolute, more profound than the vacuum outside. No gasps, no murmurs, not even the rustle of ceremonial garb. The envoys simply watched. UNMOVING. Chen leaned in, whispering, "Ma'am, they've gone silent." Admiral Ramirez's voice was low. "They're assessing us, not just our words, but our weapons." He gestured toward the flank of the grand atrium, where the Invictus shadow fell across the polished floor through the transparent hull segment. Even here, beneath ornamental ceilings, the battleship's form spoke of war. Dr. Quinn's eyes were wide. "They've archived every transmission we've sent, cultural theses, political manifestos, even our military doctrines. They know our history, but they're waiting to see if we live up to it." Li Mei-chen stepped forward, her voice steady. "Esteemed representatives of the Galactic Assembly, we come with respect for your wisdom and with humility before your experience. We know the strength we bear, and we vow to wield it for defense alone." Her words reverberated through the chamber, yet still no reply. The Xenians' bioluminescent wings dimmed. The Orion's head crests lowered in a gesture that could have been respect or caution. It was hard to tell. The QORth orbs drifted closer, their inner lights flickering in patterns that Dr. Quinn later deduced to be a form of nonverbal evaluation. Alara took a step forward, projecting every ounce of her training into her posture. "We invite you to witness our hearts as well as our arms, to share knowledge, culture, and purpose. Let us speak together as peers, not as conquerors before the conquered." At last, a ripple of sound, a Xenian envoy spoke, voice crystalline. "Your words are clear, yet your shield overshadows your hand." He paused, tilting his winged frame. "Show us your hand." Alara met his gaze across the atrium. With pleasure, she tapped her comm badge. "Deploy the envoy frigates." Moments later, the chamber filled with a soft drumbeat as the side hull of the way station opened to reveal 3 slender starships. Holographic projectors flared to life around them, weaving tapestries of Earth's past, the first flickers of Homo sapiens in Pleistocene twilight, the thundering herds of bison on grasslands, the human hand lifting from darkness to place a foot on the lunar landscape, the vibrant corals of oceans now healing, the soaring arches of terrestrial bridges binding communities. Warmth bloomed within. The grand hall. Almaria, an Orion dignitary, stepped forward, her obsidian features reflecting the dancing images. She whispered to her neighbor in the Orion tongue, but the translator modules rendered it softly, strength tempered by wonder. Still, only silence followed. The Xenian delegate's crystalline tone interrupted. "Your gift moves us, but we remain mute until we understand if your heart beats in rhythm with your art." And so, beneath the grand chandeliers of simulated starlight, humanity's ambassadors stood exposed, not in armor, but in the honesty of their heritage, awaiting the moment when the galaxy would decide if their voice was one of harmony or heraldry. Outside, the Invictus loomed silent witness to the fragile prelude of first contact, its brutal silhouette both promise and threat, and within, the assembly held its breath, listening for the first note of humanity's true song. The echo of metal footsteps faded as the human delegation withdrew to the Astreus briefing chamber, leaving the grand atrium humming with alien deliberation. Commander Alara Voss took a measured breath, her thoughts racing faster than the slipstream drives that propelled them across the void. Behind closed doors, the fighting spirit of humanity's premier fleet revealed itself in stark relief. A shadow cast by the towering bulk of the Invictus, Admiral Cale Ramirez stood before, a holo projection of the way station's tactical grid. His square jaw was set beneath tired eyes. "They aren't speaking," he said flatly. Not one reply to our cultural envoy. We've shown them both sword and song, yet they remain silent. Dr. Mara Quinn peered over the Admiral's shoulder, her fine brow furrowed. Silence is a language, too, she ventured. It may not be disdain, but deliberation. They archive our transmissions in real time, every philosophical tract, every Mars terraforming blueprint, every combat doctrine. They're parsing our contradictions. Ramirez rotated the 3D waystation model. They saw our turbolasers. They felt the gravimetric signature of the Invictus. They know what we can destroy in a heartbeat. He tapped a constellation of red dots around the human fleet. Our battle fleet forms a protective ring. It's classical Earth tactics. Shield the diplomats with warships. But here, it might be read as a gauntlet thrown down. Alara crossed her arms. We cannot abandon the Invictus. It is our symbol of unity, of everything Earth stands for. Technological mastery, collective will, the right to safeguard our own. But perhaps we should balance the scales with a demonstration of non-lethal power. Mara's eyes lit up. Yes, the Astreus Zena communications suite has a dormant subroutine. We can reconfigure the waystation's deep array transmitters into a resonance beacon. Instead of turbolasers, we'll broadcast a harmonized pulse, Earth's ambient biosignature, translated into subspace frequencies. Ramirez steepled. His fingers. You mean to let them hear the pulse of our planet, our jungles, our oceans, our bustling cities encoded as a single song? Exactly, Mara confirmed, tapping at her console. It will underscore that our might serves life, not annihilation. Alara nodded. Do it, and keep a direct feed for me. She glanced at the Admiral. I'll give the order for the Invictus to stand down its weapon emplacements. Produce a silhouette of peace in the Invictus command bridge, Captain. Ishan Rafi hesitated before the weapon's console. Red status lights blinked ominously. He keyed his commline. Commander Voss, permission to deactivate battery rays? Her voice crackled through the intercom. Granted. Display mode echo. Defensive posture only. All offensive systems to idle. Rafi exhaled, running a gloved finger over the holographic schematic of the main turret. He keyed in the deactivation sequence, and one by one, the sleek barrels withdrew behind armored shutters. The vast superstructure went from war machine to colossal sentinel, silent, formidable, benign. Battlefleet Echo online, Rafi reported. Excellent, Alara replied. Now, Mara, engage the beacon. Back on the waystation, dozens of alien delegates gathered at the edge of the grand atrium. Their hull-mounted sensors and sensory organs had been trained on the human fleet's every nuance. Now, they sensed a shift, the Invictus weapon arcs receding, the Astreus subspace arrays humming with unfamiliar modulation. A hush fell as the transmogrified signal washed over the station. The initial pulse was low and velvety, like distant thunder rolling across coral atolls. Then it blossomed, layering multiple harmonic overtones, the drumming of Central Africa's forests, the mournful howl of Siberian wolves, the fizz of tropical rainfall, the surge of tidal breakers at Earth's polar ice shelves. In the crisp higher registers, the rhythmic pulse of urban life heartbeats in steel towers, human voices laughing, the susurrus of microchips flowing with data. The Xenian matron Lysla raised one wing crest, bioluminescent filaments along. Her carapace shimmered in time with the melody. The Orion envoy Captain Alamaria's head crests quivered. She shifted weight from one foot to another, a gesture the humans later learned was akin to awe. The Q'Arath orbs drifted closer still, their internal luminance intensifying until their entire spheres glowed like captive suns. Mara Quinn watched from the Astreus holoconsole feed, tears glinting in her eyes. They feel it, she whispered. Our world alive in them. Alara's voice was soft but unyielding. This is our promise, that behind every weapon system is a heart that cherishes life. Admiral Ramirez released a breath. Diplomatic channels are lighting up. They're requesting a response feedback on the beacon. Alara tapped a command. A selection of voice modulators cycled. At last, her voice emerged. Overlaid with the beacon's resonance, people of the assembly, we lay down our swords and open our songs. May this chorus bind our fates in concord, not conflict. Silence. Then, a single baritone voice deep enough to shake the gravity plates resonated through the comnet. Your song is heard, Earthborn, we acknowledge your vow. The Xenian matron's tone was reverent, yet words alone can be broken. Show us your resolve. Alara exchanged looks with Ramirez. Show them, she said, below. In the Astraeus hangar bays, the human engineering teams readied their most ambitious display. Sleek cargo pods lifted into docking rings, each containing a compact atmospheric biosphere unit. Within glass-walled cylinders, microcosms of Earth's ecosystems, a fragment of Amazonian undergrowth, a slice of Great Barrier Reef's coral, polyps, a bit of Yellowstone's thermal springs, even a sample of Antarctica's ice core bacteria. Captain Hayes oversaw the operation. Once we've introduced these samples into the Waystation's environmental simulators, they can cultivate them. We offer living proof of our stewardship. Mara nodded. The xenolinguistics crew has prepared instruction sets for self-replication and biosafety. We can leave them with an open-source blueprint for preserving worlds. Alara approached the nearest pod, brushing a fingertip against its transparent surface inside. A tiny orchid unfurled, shimmering with dew. She imagined alien eyes witnessing. That fragile bloom, we send a piece of our home, she said quietly, not as trophies, but as beacons of mutual caretaking. Hayes snapped salute. Biospheres away in T-5. Moments later, gravity null conveyors delivered the sealed pods into the Waystation's atrium. Alien technicians in iridescent suits guided the fragile cylinders into designated growth chambers, vaulted glass columns, ringed with power conduits. As the pods latched, life support tendrils snaked around the specimens, drawing subspace nutrients. Calibrating temperature and light, murmurs rippled through the assembly. The Xenian matron bent forward to inspect the orchid's petals. An Orion scientist took water samples from a hydroponic forest. Floor QORth scribes recorded the thermal spectra of Yellowstone's spring bacteria on crystalline tablets. Alara let her grin spread. We've shown them our might, she told Ramirez. We've sung them our planet. Now we show them our care. The Admiral allowed himself a small smile. And yet, they remain cautious. This is merely chapter 1 of our Concord. Alara returned to the holo console, bringing up a star map streaked with the proposed new corridors of interstellar commerce and exploration. Then let us propose chapter 2, a joint expedition, a survey of the Crimson Nebula neutral sector herein demarcated as shared territory. We'll chart it together, share its secrets and resources. Mara intercepted the communication line. I've crafted the treaty language in for major dialects: Basic, Xenian, Orion, and QORth. Ready for transmission on your mark. Alara exhaled, allowing a moment of satisfaction to rise. She set her jaw. Mark, the holographic treaty unfurled in midair, its illuminated text weaving through the atrium like a flowing river of light. Delegates leaned in. The matron's crest shimmered in approval. Alamaria's crests offset in a rhythmic nod. The QORth orbs pulsed deeper gold, their silence now pregnant with anticipation rather than fear. In the distance, the Invictus, silent form receded to a respectful station-keeping orbit, no longer an oppressive bastion, but a vigilant guardian. Behind its formidable hull, humanity's true strength lay bare, not in turbolasers or graviton projectors, but in the willingness to extend a hand, to share knowledge, culture, and life itself. As the signature glyphs descended onto the treaty 4, luminous seals, one from each signatory, raced. The shadow of doubt lifted. Humanity had cast its battle fleet's shadow across the assembly's halls. Yes, but it had also cast a longer shadow of hope, a promise that the sword, when guided by a compassionate heart, could protect the fragile bloom of unity in the cold expanse. And so chapter 2 closed on a note of wary optimism. The first joint venture between humanity and the Galactic Assembly, a small crew poised at the threshold of the Crimson Nebula where new wonders awaited, and new challenges would test whether this fledgling alliance could withstand the trials that lay ahead. Each heartbeat like throb sending ripples across the view screen. Spatial anomaly, intoned the station commander's voice over the comnet. It's growing. Thermal flux and tachyon emissions off the charts. We're losing control of the outer docking rays. Alara's heart pounded. Status: orbital stabilization failing in 20 seconds. Corridor junctions collapsing. Ramirez's jaw clenched. Evacuate non-essential personnel. Battlefleet, raise shields around the station. But Alara shook her head. If we shelter inside the atrium, we lose the element of response. We need to understand what we're dealing with. She turned to Mara. Can your scanner make sense of the energy signatures? Mara's fingers flew over the portable console, its echoing patterns of an ancient resonance. Not natural. These harmonics, I've only ever seen them in QORth archives describing Echelon subspace. Engines, elaborate. Alara urged. The Echelon. Dr. Quinn breathed, eyes wide with awe and dread. Were the architects of the galaxy's earliest warp gates and subspace matrices. They vanished a million cycles ago. Some say they ascended. Others that they fractured space itself in their final experiment. Their return would mean a rewriting of cosmic order. Below them in the docking ring, engineers struggled as gravity. Grids fluctuated. Cargo cranes jerked. Supply shuttles drifted free. A secondary quake rattled the station, and a fissure snapped open along the main thoroughfare. Sparks flew. Artificial gravity discharged in staccato bursts. Ramirez barked orders. Divert all power to the primary shield emitters, Astreus. Stand by for boarding assistance. Alara laid a hand on his arm. No, if the Echelon are here, they won't respond to force. We need dialogue if that's possible. Ramirez stared at her, torn between conflict and necessity. Finally, he nodded. Your call, Commander, but be ready to back it up. Dr. Quinn wheeled her scanner toward the rift's rippling surface. Holographic readouts flooded the chamber, cascading waveforms, dancing in fractal patterns, each one a linguistic construct built of pure subspace frequencies. It's a resonance language, she murmured. If we can mimic their speech patterns, we might coax a response. With what? Alara asked. Mara's eyes glittered. The waystation ship-to-ship relays. If we reconfigure our communicator, arrays into a polyphonic synthesizer, we can broadcast a harmonic bridge imitating the Echelon's signature code. Ramirez looked doubtful. That could destabilize them further, or open a channel of understanding, Alara countered. It's our best shot. In the engineering deck, teams worked feverishly. The Astreus' communications suite was dismantled and rebuilt. Crystal modulators from the Xenians were integrated with Orion waveform splitters and QORth energy. Cores, Captain Roland Hayes oversaw the operation, standing amid a tangle of alien circuitry. Wiping sweat from his brow, power couplings at 90%, he reported to Alara via comlink. Synthesizer nearly online. Proceed, she responded. Let them know we come seeking truth, not conflict. Back on the viewing platform, Alara watched as the rift's edges flared brighter. Tendrils of dark energy snaking outward. Engineers welded the last conduits into place. Mara tapped the final command, and the entire station shivered as the harmonics began to play. A low drone pulsed first, then layers of fractal tones and overtones climbed in complexity. The holographic waveforms stabilized into recognizable patterns. Alara held her breath. At once, the rift's furious roiling slowed. The violet-blue storm calmed into a slow, rhythmic pulse. Then through the speakers came a deep, resonant voice, not spoken in words but in pure subspace melody, vibrating through every fiber of the waystation's hull. Why do mortals tread the path of war? When the cosmos hums with creation. Dr. Quinn stared at her console. That is a greeting. They're asking our intent. Alara squared her shoulders. Tell them we walked to meet friends, but brought our shields out of love for life. She keyed the response into the synthesizer. The rift glowed. Its light casting ghostly silhouettes across the fractured docking bays. Moments passed. Then, a second, gentler response. Life asks for guardians, not conquerors. Share your heart, as you have shared your song. Then step forward. In the grand atrium, the alien envoys Xenians, Orions, QORth watched as the rift's surface shimmered, resolving into a doorway of pure, geometric light. Within that portal, shapes flickered. Towers of impossible architecture, bioluminescent forests, crystalline seas. A world half glimpsed, half remembered. Alara felt tears prick her eyes. They're showing us their home, she whispered. The heart of the Echelon. Admiral Ramirez exhaled. We stand at the threshold of a new epoch. Alara turned to her people. Today we chose dialogue over destruction, and they have heard our hearts. Now, we cross the threshold together. With cautious reverence, the human delegation Alara, Ramirez, Quinn, Hayes, Ambassador Chen stepped forward. Behind them followed the alien envoys. As their feet touched the threshold of the Echelon's realm, the rift's luminous gateway enveloped them in cascading light, bearing them across the void to the dawn of a revelation older than any star. And, in that moment, beneath alien skies woven of memory and myth, the promise of peace was reborn and humanity's true test lay ahead. A veil of light folded around Commander Alara Voss and the allied delegation. As they passed through the rift's threshold, for a heartbeat they drifted in a metaspace of prismatic hues and interstice, between worlds where gravity, time, and sound bent to alien geometries. Then, gently, the glow subsided, and they stepped onto solid ground beneath a sky awash with shifting constellations. The air felt alive, charged with an energy that hummed in the veins of every living thing. Towering spires of translucent crystal rose like fingers of memory, each etched with flowing glyphs that pulsed in cadence with the cosmic breeze. Between the spires, bioluminescent flora unknown to any human or assembly species blossomed in fractal patterns, their petals shimmering as if tuned to the same subspace frequency that had greeted them. Admiral Cale Ramirez inhaled slowly. This is the Echelon homeworld," he whispered, "or at least the locus of their last known civilization." Dr. Mara Quinn's portable scanner crackled as it ingested data. The environmental readings, atmospheric composition, energy flow. Even the quantum coherence of these crystals matched the Echelon subspace engine's legacy signatures. They must have woven their essence into this planet before they vanished. A soft chime announced a response through their comm badges, translated into basic by the synthesizer. A voice of resonant clarity spoke, though its tones were layered like harmonic chords. "Welcome, stewards of life. We have watched as you laid down arms and offered your culture. Now walk among the echoes of creation." Alara glanced at the alien envoys beside her. The Xenians' multifaceted eyes glistened with wonder. The Orion's head crests quivered in unison. The Qoarath orbs glowed with gentle inner fire. None whispered. Instead, each stood rapt, as if hearing an echo of their own ancestral memory. "Show us your heart," the voice continued. "Let the Echelon's legacy weave our paths together." The ground beneath their feet rippled, parting like a welcoming seam, to reveal a pathway of living crystal. Each step along it caused the stones to glow warmly, as though recognizing the life force in those who trod upon them. The path led to a vast amphitheater in natural hollow carved amidst crystalline pillars. Its seats formed of concentric terraces that spiraled toward a central dais. On the dais hovered a translucent orb, about the size of a Terran moon. Within it shimmered arcane vistas, swirling fractal galaxies, pulsing wormholes, and maps of neural networks that spanned entire star clusters. Tendrils of light arched from the orb to the edges of the amphitheater, intertwining with the crystalline architecture. Alara stepped forward, all mingling with duty. She spoke into her comm badge. "We come bearing the promise of mutual respect. We hope to learn from your culture, to share our knowledge in return, and to stand as guardians of creation." As her words dissolved into the charged air, the orbs' vistas coalesced into a single, grand projection, an interstellar tapestry of connected star systems, each node glowing where species had forged alliances, and dim where conflict or neglect had frayed bonds. One node pulsed erratically, the nascent human corridors linking Earth to the Crimson Nebula. And beyond dot from the orb issued the voice, softer now. "We shaped the web of worlds, nurturing life across the void. But in our hubris, we fractured reality and withdrew. Now, the web weakens at many points, old wounds reopening. You stand at a new node, bridging distant cultures. Will you weave this web anew?" A hush fell. The alien delegates exchanged solemn glances. Dr. Quinn's eyes glistened as she decoded the subtext. To the Echelon, the Galactic Assembly was part of a living network, a cosmic organism sustained by cooperation. The fracture that had silenced them mirrored humanity's own trials. Commander Voss held the gaze of each envoy in turn. "We will," she said, voice resolute. "We will not wield our strengths as weapons of division. We will bind our worlds in mutual stewardship, forging pathways of understanding and aid. We pledge to uphold the web of life." At once, the crystalline pillars blazed with radiant lines of white gold light. The amphitheater trembled, and the orb's tendrils retracted into its core, coalescing into a beam that shot upward, piercing the sky. A cascade of resonant tones filled the Aryan echelon hymn of unity, ancient and profound. The ground itself seemed to pulse in time with the hymn, and from the forested groves at the amphitheater's periphery emerged creatures of delicate, beauty-winged beings whose feathers shimmered with subspace wavelengths, bioluminescent reptiles tracing luminous paths through the undergrowth, and floating tendrils of sentient flora that entwined in greeting. None bore the scars of war. All exuded a sense of serene purpose. An Orion envoy knelt to one such creature, gently extending a hand. The creature responded by unfurling a filament that played a chord through the sentinel's crest. An Orion melody woven from floral tones. The envoy smiled, tears shining in her eyes. Alara stood beside Admiral Ramirez as they watched the silent communion. "They're teaching us," she said softly. "Not how to fight, but how to live together." Ramirez nodded, emotion softening. His features, "All our treaties, all our pacts, they're but words until we learn the language of life itself." Dr. Quinn adjusted her scanner, capturing every nuance. "This world, it's a living library. Every creature, every crystal is a record. We can learn the echelon's memory without warping it, honor their legacy by preserving it." Alara turned back to the orb. "Then let this world be our shared archive. Let us stand guard over humanity and the assembly together." The orb pulsed once more, and a ribbon of light spiraled down, forming a bridge back to the fractal pathway. As if in acceptance, the path's crystals opened, revealing compartments where human and alien artifacts, books, hololiths, biospheres, xenotechnological relics could be stored side by side. A chorus of nods and blessings echoed through the amphitheater, from Xenians, a harmonized hum of crystalline resonance. From Orions, the tolling of ceremonial gong crystals. From Qoarath, a gentle vibration of energy that rippled like a soothing wave. Alara stepped onto the bridge of light. Guided by the orb's gentle glow, "We pledge our guardianship," she intoned. "May this place remain a beacon of unity for all time." At that moment, the rift's threshold shimmered behind them, ready to close. But instead of sealing, it widened, settling into a stable portal that linked the echelon realm and the assembly station. Dr. Quinn smiled through tears. "A permanent passage, an open channel between worlds." Admiral Ramirez placed a hand on Alara's shoulder. "You chose the path of understanding." And they opened their home. Humanity's true test begins now. Alara faced the alien envoys and the dawn-lit sky beyond the portal. "Then let us walk this path together to rebuild the web." And as the crystalline pillars of the echelon world glowed in affirmation, a new epoch dawned, one where humanity and the Galactic Assembly forged not merely alliances of necessity, but bonds of life, a network of worlds woven through mutual respect, shared knowledge, and the promise to protect the fragile spark of civilization wherever it might ignite.